For example, if you take a look at the centralized system like your bank, so your bank owns the servers. So when you open an account, if they do your checking account, then they create a record, which is your profile, and give you online access. On the blockchain consists of a loosely coupled network of nodes. What is a node? Node is can be any computer. If you think of a hardware, usually it's a server which is powerful enough to do so-called mining. In public blockchains, any node can enter the network at any time, and it can leave the network at any time. So there is no permission that you have to apply. So all you have to do is, as a miner, is you just download open source software, configure it, and run it. So this creates economy for people who own hardware. Compared, for example, the same economy that if you own a car, you can earn money as an Uber driver. So same thing here. If you own a hardware, you can loan it to the network, and the network is gonna pay you in crypto. And this creates incentives for the miners. So miners stay within the network and keep it online. Since Bitcoin launched in 2008, so this model proven to be reliable, and it was running since 2008 non-stop without any interruptions. So if we take a look how it works, when you transact with somebody in Bitcoin or any similar crypto, you submit a transaction to the network. You sign it using your wallet and submit it to the network. But then miners, they start competing for your transaction. And your transactions end up grouped by blocks. Each block has a so-called hash. Hash is an important thing to understand because it's used as a rubber stamp a block. So once your transaction makes it into the blockchain, then it cannot be removed. So all blockchains are immutable, although there are exceptions from this rule. Okay, so let's talk about hash. Hash, another synonym of hash is a digest. So I give you an example from the real world. So, for example, we have a conservative movement, and digest of a conservative movement was invented by Donald Trump, Make America Great Again. So you can think of it as a digest of the entire movement. For example, a digest of a nationalist movement could be, for example, as America First. And so let's imagine that there are some people infiltrate this movement, and some people, they say, oh, actually, Israel first.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then they just automatically changes. It cannot be America First anymore. So it changes to sometimes America First. The same way here in the computer world. For example, you have any block of information, and you can do a digest, or you can run a hash from this block of information. And in computer world, it doesn't have any meaning. It just hexadecimal sequence. So it is very good to make sure that to enforce data integrity, that nobody tampered with the data. For example, in blockchain, every time, the way it works, that every time blocks gets generated every few seconds, but it depends on the network. The slowest one is Bitcoin. In Bitcoin, blocks are generated every 10 minutes. And even if there are no transactions, then empty blocks get generated. And each block has a hash. For example, starts with block 1. The very first block in the blockchain is called Genesis. Any other blocks that get added later on, they have a pointer which points to the hash of the previous block. And this is how the blockchain enforces data integrity, because it is designed to operate in zero trust environment, and since source of the software is available, it's open source, there could be any rogue miners that may try to alter that software and introduce a bogus transactions. For example, like submit a transaction when I spent $1 million and my balance is still the same. The blockchains are designed to prevent the situation, and another important part that miners do is they do transaction validation. For example, one miner wants to add a block. After this happens, then other nodes on the network, they submit voting. So this creates a situation when, for example, there is a conspiracy among miners, and they all run, the group of miners decide to run rogue software. In order for this attack to be successful, amount of miners must be more than a half. So it should be 51%. And this type of attack is called 51% attack. Usually there are tens of thousands of miners on major networks. And these scenarios are not viable because it's difficult for any group of rogue people, for any such conspiracy, to get a hold of the half of the mining nodes in the network. Okay. There are different types of blockchains, and one is proof of work, and second is proof of stake. Proof of work is the first type which was introduced, for example, by Bitcoin. In proof of work, the algorithm forces a miner to perform some artificial task, which is not really necessary to add a transaction to the block, but just to demonstrate that he did some work, and this needs to be, in order to be prevented, the flooding of the network with some bogus transactions. So, in other words, it's a price of entry to be a miner, because there are no other mechanism, because anybody can join the network, and there could be scenarios when a miner rents hardware and runs millions of processors that may try to overwhelm the network. So proof of work is designed to prevent this, but there is a price for that. So I explained you about a hash. Hash is a digest. You can run a digest of any type of block, and you can come up with certain hash. But you cannot do it in reverse. You cannot tell the algorithm, hey, I want to produce this hash or digest, and there is no way to guess what the data should look like for that digest. This is how data integrity is achieved. So algorithm for proof of work works that the network introduces certain requirements for a digest. For example, if this is segments of words and numbers, it might ask, for example, let's enforce the rule that, for example, the third letter should be letter F, and it should not be ABC, but it should be any other letter. And the miner starts guessing. He starts generating hashes by modifying a header of the block. He doesn't modify any transactions, but since you get quite different hash, when you modify a header, so that miner tries to guess the correct hash, which can be approved by the network. So this algorithm is, and it requires a lot of energy. Bitcoin consumes similar amount of energy comparable to countries such as Switzerland and Poland. And another type of blockchain is a proof of stake. Proof of stake is different, that there are no miners in the network, but there are validators. They do not do mining, but the price of entry is they have to have a certain balance of crypto coins, and usually it's about, I would say, $100,000. So they log this amount before validating, and if they submit a wrong transaction, for example, if they try to submit a wrong transaction, other nodes will reject it, and that rogue miner will be penalized by collecting a fine from his coins. So, the example of proof of stake blockchain is Ethereum. Ethereum is a second major network. So they started off like Bitcoin with a proof of work, but they moved to proof of stake in 2022. So usually proof of stake requires way less electricity, and you don't need expensive hardware, because what happens with proof of work, in order to be successful and make money from mining, you need to invest enormous money into the hardware, and it easily gets outdated, and you have to throw it away and buy a new one. Okay, next, wallets. So in order to start transactions in any network, you need to create a wallet. The major difference between your online banking account or PayPal is you can create a wallet without even connecting to the network. So this idea was very difficult for me to understand, because how do I create account without connecting? In blockchain, the meaning of account is wallet, is a public address. Public address is just a combination of numbers and digits. In order for you to have a control of that wallet, you need to have a private key. Private key is it's a longer sequence, but when you use that sequence with a wallet, so it unlocks your wallet and then you can send points anywhere. So it means you are in control of your wallet. There is a difference between wallets, so they can be connected to the network and they can be disconnected. Usually, when you install software on your phone, so it's a wallet, but it's always connected to the network. And it is less secure because theoretically a hacker might hack into your wallet and send coins somewhere. Cold wallet is more, it's the safest storage available. So there are different types of wallets that are available. There are web-based wallets, for example, my Apple wallet. So it's just a static web page, and once you open it, it lets you create a new wallet or unlock your existing wallet if you have a private key. It doesn't get connected to any database. It doesn't. You don't need to create an account or profile. All you need is just a private key. There are browser plugins, for example, MetaMask and Opera browser added support for Ethereum wallet maybe in around 2018. So every time if you install your Opera browser, you can go to settings and enable Ethereum wallet. The most convenient wallets are mobile wallets that you can install to your cell phone. For Android, there are wallets for Android and Apple operating systems. My favorite ones are Trust and MetaMask. So once you install them, every time you can set them up so that every time you send points, you can have confirmation, and you can unlock transactions with using biometric data. Although this is, some people do not recommend it because corporations may have your fingerprints or any other data, but it's just nice to know that this is available. So they have face recognition, and there is a hardware wallet, for example, Trezor. So this works as a USB dongle. So you install some software on the desktop computer, and you have a dongle. So it's a cold wallet. Every time you need to do a transaction, you just plug it in, send points, and disconnect. Most of the wallets are free, except hardware wallets. For hardware wallets, you have to pay for this dongle. It costs about $120 or $150. Yeah, this is an example how mobile wallet looks like. It just shows your account or wallet address. It shows you balance, And second slide from the left is shows you how you initiate the transaction. So it shows you destination address that you can either copy and paste, or if you use your phone, you can use QR code of the recipient. So you can scan QR code and it immediately translates into destination wallet address. And third slide, you just type amount, and fourth slide is showing confirmation page where you just hit next and transaction will go to the network. Okay, so blockchains, they let you to use amount of money for transaction in order to pay miners. The way miners are paid is when they compete for the block and only one miner wins. Then winning miner gets a new coin which is minted by the network. So another way how miner gets rewarded is from each transaction you can specify a transaction fee, and wallets usually allow you to modify it. And when you specify transaction fee, it may help to speed up this transaction. If transaction fee is too low, then transaction will not succeed. It's going to time out because miners usually set up the software. They set a certain threshold for the transaction fee, so they simply will not pick it up, and your transaction will just time out and will not be successful. Okay, you can buy crypto on the exchanges, and in the United States, the most prominent exchanges are Coinbase, Gemini, and Kraken, and there are others. Any exchange that works with US dollars or so-called fiat currency, they have to enforce know your customer rules. And in other words, exchanges, they operate like banks. So you hear a lot of positive things about decentralization, but all exchanges that work with money, with US dollars, they work as banks. So that means they can still lock your account if you hold money there. And most of the people, when they buy cryptos, they hold money on the exchanges. And when you log in there, they show you have balance, but they never give you a private key from the crypto wallet. So it means you don't have a custody of your coins. And in the past, there were situations when price dropped, and the exchanges, they simply locked users out of the money for a certain period until price stabilized. So if you buy coins on these type of exchanges, it is not advised to keep your coins there, but you'll better withdraw your coins to your wallet that you control. So it's important to have your private key.
Very important.
Okay, so smart contracts. So initially, when Bitcoin was introduced, that was around 2008. That project had only opportunity to move points back and forth and nothing else. It still exists. The situation hasn't changed because Bitcoin is very conservative about it. Ethereum introduced quite a revolutionary idea of smart contracts. Smart contracts is a small piece of code that anyone can submit to the network, and a smart contract allows users to transact without any proxy. Well, sometimes it's difficult to understand this idea, but you can think of it like, for example, you have these scooters. For example, in San Diego and Los Angeles, so you download an app, you attach your credit card, and so you can rent it out, this scooter, and there is a mechanism that unlocks this scooter. So as soon as it receives the payment, it unlocks the scooter. So it's automatic. It works as automatic algorithm without any proxy that allows you to use something. It gives you access to some service. So here it's a typical diagram shows two individuals transacting with a purpose using the bank. This is on the left, and on the right side is the same transaction goes without any proxy with the use of a smart contract. Ethereum network was the first one that introduced smart contracts. So you can think of it as like, if you're familiar with Microsoft Office software, they have Excel spreadsheets, and you can have a ledger there, and in Microsoft Excel you can write pieces of code which are called macros using Visual Basic. So you don't have to be very proficient programmer, but you can do something simple which is very useful. So smart contracts, they have following features. So they have their own, once they deployed, they can have their own address on the network, like any wallet, and they can have balances of coins. There could be situations that contracts do not have any owner, and in that case, smart contract may behave as an escrow account. So it doesn't belong to anyone, but it is controlled by a certain algorithm, and it as soon as it receives signals from the people who transacted, it makes a decision. Like first, it receives some funds, then it receives signals, and based on the signals, it makes a decision how to divide funds between parties. Here are use cases from the real life for smart contracts. So escrow accounts. Okay, ERC-20 protocol. Yeah. After Bitcoin creation, there were copies of this project, like Bitcoin Cash and similar. And there was a need for people to launch other coins without all the hassle, because in order to launch a blockchain network, you need to invest a lot of energy and resources. So you need to have a software, you need to have a community of miners, and you need to advertise this coin, so miners actually would be interested, and coin should have monetary value. So it's really difficult to achieve. So there was a need to issue so-called secondary coins. Secondary coin is usually lives on top of existing networks. Each blockchain network has its own native token. For example, Bitcoin has only one native token, but Ethereum has native token, which is called Ether, but it has like thousands of secondary coins. The benefits of secondary coin is you can launch them easily, and they're already integrated with existing wallets. And if you want to launch them, it's probably usually requires to write a couple of pages of computer code. Deployment costs, I would say, around maybe $20 or $50. But you pay this money to the network as a transaction fee. When you deploy a smart contract, you just pay the same transaction fee like you pay for the money transfer, but deploying contract is usually more expensive because it requires more resources. Okay. Examples of secondary coins is the most known, or like I'll say successful examples are stable coins. Stable coins, they pegged to the existing fiat currency, either US dollars or euro or any other. The way it works is quite different. All stable coins are centralized, and they're usually owned by corporations. When a company launches a stable coin, they have reserves in the bank. And for example, when anyone approaches that company and says, I want like 100 stable coins, they say, fine, and give us $100, and then we give you 100 stable coins. And on the opposite side, when somebody brings stable coins to the company back, they just exchange it for their cash, and they destroy stable coins. So they have a quite different maintenance mechanism. Most known stable coin is Tether, and Tether is notorious for Bitcoin bull runs. Stable coins, they create enormous liquidity because you can move US dollars between countries. And companies such as Tether, they were criticized because of lack of accountability, because people blame them that they behave like Federal Reserve, that they issue more stable coins than they have reserves, and there is not enough means to control that. And so when they create wealth, they invest it in Bitcoin, and they cause enormous price spikes. So there are companies that analyze all this trading activity, and I saw a lot of articles saying that major price spikes, for example, the one that happened in 2017, that when a price went from like maybe $2,000 per Bitcoin till almost $70,000 per Bitcoin. So it was all because of tether activity. Okay. Another example of stable coins is Donald Trump issued his own stable coin. And, okay, so the next use case of a smart contract is the initial coin offering. Initial coin offering is a way to fund a new project in a way that angel investors do, but it is crowdfunding. So it happens when a team of developers and visionaries, they team up and they say, oh, we have a great idea, we want to introduce another Amazon. But we don't have money, how do we raise capital? So they say, okay, so let's deploy a secondary token on Ethereum, and we're gonna launch a crowdfunding campaign. But usually they don't have anything else. So they publish press releases, they attract celebrities, so they create a hype. And most of this hype is pump and dump schemes. So you can imagine that the owner of Amazon, Steve Bezos, he would be selling gift card for Amazon in the 90s or 80s when the website didn't exist. Okay, so the fourth example, by the way, despite of a lot of fraudulent activity in ICOs, when we speak about raising funds for political activism, this is where we should pay attention, because since there are a lot of activities, even people who committed fraud, they published the source code of these initial coin offerings, smart contracts, and it could be used as a just as an example. I mean, you don't have to be involved in fraudulent activity, but you can use existing code to implement something new based on these things. Okay, so the fourth or fifth real-world use case is distributed finance. It's a type of smart contract that acts as a saving account. So you send coins to a smart contract, and it pays your dividends every month or so. So if you can withdraw your coins from this smart contract and without problem, and after you do that, you're going to stop receiving dividends. So. Okay, so so the next thing we talk about disadvantages of using blockchains. So first is a 51% attack. Because usually what may happen is if 51% attack is successful, then only recently added blocks could be deleted. If your transaction made to the block, and after that new blocks were added, there is a real chance that it will be rolled back. So this is why when you send a coin to an exchange, they wait for 6 block confirmations. Then if you have 6 block confirmations, usually you're safe from 51% attack. Another thing, what happens if all coins are mined? So this applies only to blockchains with a hard cap, like Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, when it was introduced, they announced that they have a hard cap of coins, which is 20 million coins. And this is a justification for the price growth. So when these proponents of Bitcoin, or the so-called salespeople, they say, "Oh, supply is limited." So after some point, they're going to be deflationary scenario. So right now, this hasn't happened. But what you should know, since miners get a reward from two types of. So first is a network mines a new coin, and the miner gets it. So this, in case of Bitcoin, it creates enormous reward. So what the price of Bitcoin right now is $80,000. That's a pretty good one. But each block has transactions. When you send a transaction, you specify it's like a tip, the transaction cost. There are limit of transactions that may fit in the block. For example, maybe 4,000 is probably the maximum. So usually transaction cost is like a few cents. Sometimes it's $1, but it depends. And so you can calculate the maximum amount of possible transactions and how much you're willing to pay for like transaction. If you like, let's say you're buying a Starbucks coffee with Bitcoin, probably not more than $1. So this happens interesting scenario when network starts minting coins and miners they will not be receiving coins as a reward for each block. So all they receive is just your transaction fees, which is way less by the order of magnitude. So this creates a situation when miners are not motivated to stay within the network and they may migrate to other networks. This situation with Bitcoin is not going to happen anytime soon, maybe another 100 years, as they promised, but usually nobody talks about it. And if miners migrate, if they abandon network, then 51% attack becomes really viable. Because people who left in the network, they can run a conspiracy, because not many miners still left. So statistically, it becomes possible. So if you keep mining on the network, you should always pay attention how many miners are there. If miners are motivated, the more miners, the safer your coins are. Okay, so the next one is, can quantum computers decipher private keys? Typically, if a government operates a quantum computer and if they figure out how to decipher a private key, they can easily take your money. So usually the consensus about this question is it may happen, but we're probably decades away. But let's say if government figures out how to do it, they probably are not gonna advertise it until they do something bad with it. Okay, so what happens if I lose my private key? It means you lost your money forever. Blockchains are not a bank. They don't have phone numbers with the customer support. So if you, yeah, it's a disadvantage. Advantage is like you can open a wallet and it's going to take you a couple minutes you don't have to go through all this approval process. It just happens like this. But it's a downside. If you lose it, you lose it. Okay, so let's say you have account on the crypto exchange, which is centralized, and you access it from another country. So sometimes banks, when they see an IP address coming from another country, they can lock you out. And this happens with crypto exchanges too, especially if a country is under sanctions, like North Korea, Iran, Cuba. Yeah, there were reports of exchanges locking people out of their money, and that usually takes a lot of effort to recover this. Okay, network throughput and transaction cost. Because blockchains are designed to operate in the environment of zero trust, anyone can join as a miner. So this makes them kind of inefficient in terms that if I run a server as a company, I can process 1,000 transactions per second, like for example Visa does. Visa does maybe 200,000 transactions per second, but blockchains, public blockchains, they have throughput of two-digit numbers, which is way less than commercial banks. Usually, Bitcoin blockchains, they have side solutions for that. For Bitcoin, you probably heard about Lightning Network. It's a piece of software that acts as a centralized database, but it allows to submit batches of transactions. And solutions like these, they may not be safe, and I can only say that a lot of companies, banks and credit card companies, they rushed into that space, so which well, for me, it's just, I guess, sort of a red flag. Okay, so next thing, value fluctuation. So since Bitcoins, which are not stable coins, blockchains, the value is not linked to the dollar, and there is no trust, or there is no any obligation to exchange your coins. I'm talking about native coins, Bitcoin, Ethereum, for a certain amount of dollars. So this creates a huge obstacle in a real world scenario. For example, imagine if you run a company, you have sales which are in cryptos, and you have to pay salary to the workers, you have to pay for anything else, taxes, and ideally you can do that with crypto and avoid banks completely. That would be very easy to implement, but since the value may fluctuate dramatically, and Bitcoin saw crashes like 70% of its value, so this is not viable for real world, because any company may become a bankrupt. Elon Musk tried to do the same with Tesla and each and every month. There was a lot of e-commerce which is happening, that merchant starts accepting crypto coins, and as soon as it receives coins, he does the immediate conversion into US dollars. So this is how it works. It's not really convenient, and usually, why would people use Bitcoin? Because you have to go to exchange, you'll lose some money there because you're not going to get the exact amount, so you get a little bit less. Maybe you lose maybe 1 or 2% just converting your US dollars to Bitcoin. Then you go to the merchant website, use your Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin transaction cannot be rolled back. So, what's the incentive? If you use smart contracts, it will be more convenient in terms that you could have the logic of smart contract process chargebacks. You can program it to act as a credit card, because you can pay to a smart contract and it's going to act as an escrow account, and you can send a signal if you didn't receive your goods. So if you dispute the transaction, it could be possible. Okay. And another obstacle is legal and taxation. Before now, different organizations in the US, they treated Bitcoin differently. Some government organizations think it's a money or money surrogate. IRS thinks it's a property, and they require, so if you make some profit and you realize your profit in US dollars, so IRS requires you to pay taxes from that. So if you have an account in a US exchange, so if you do trading, if you make some money, at the end of the year, they send you 1099 form. So you have to pay taxes from it. And IRS has a lot of guidance. Like if you do transaction, you have to keep a record of it, and then submit to the IRS. And they even have these ridiculous rules for stable coins, which doesn't make sense at all. So for example, if you use Zelle or PayPal, so you don't have to keep the record of it for the IRS. Yes. So if you make some money through PayPal, just PayPal will send you 1099. But luckily, the situation is going to change with this new legislation, Clarity Act and Genius Act. So hopefully, IRS is not going to be require all this excessive documentation for your transactions. The best use cases for blockchain is if you're a part of a freedom movement, best use case is social media. Because blockchains are impossible to censor. Because imagine like a situation when government decides to shut down Bitcoin. There are tens of thousands of miners in different countries. It's simply impossible, and they're all motivated by earning money, and they stay in the network. So Ethereum showed that you can have any algorithms working in the blockchain, and blockchain may evolve as a distributed computer that's owned by no single entity. And the only difference is that when you submit some data, you have to pay for it. Because when a blockchain changes its state, it is not free. You can read it from blockchain for free, but if you write to blockchain, then you have to pay for it. So this example of social media is system so-called Bastion. Bastion is developed by Daniel Sachkov. He was born in Kazakhstan, but he lives in the US right now. So this system works as YouTube. It has online messenger, and it was designed to be censorship free, and it is impossible to censor it. If you know who Mike Adams is, Mike Adams is a blogger who speaks a lot about health, freedom, and he was banned from all possible social media, from YouTube, from Facebook. So I tried to send a link to his website, and Facebook just will not let you to send it on their platform. So you'll see how censorship works right away. So Mike Adams' website is Brighteon. So in order to continue releasing his podcast, he had to build his own social media website called Brighteon. And he was so excited about Bastion, so he changed his infrastructure. So his infrastructure now powered by Bastion. Okay, and the last thing, probably the most interesting, how we can fund or crowdfund political activism and use crypto. How crypto can be useful here. So you probably saw this picture multiple times, and a lot of small fish behave as a single, as a big fish. So in order to build an organism, you need to have a like nervous system, muscles, and blood circulating. So it is easier to say than figure out how it should be done. So I'm gonna try to invite like collective thinking process, because how we can make it possible. Because the more people involved in the thinking process, the more collective cognition we have. So I outlined basic problems that we have. So usually politicians, they're like uni-party politicians, they're sponsored by big companies or special interest groups. And sometimes what they say is they have some similarity from what people desire. But once they get into office, they start doing opposite things almost immediately. And the reason is they sponsors. So on the opposite side, the so-called populist politicians, they rely on more amount of people who make small donations. But in order for them to be successful, they need to build a large base of followers. The challenge for populist politicians is to build a base, and I would say participating in activities like protests, speaking at board meetings is important. But if populist politicians, when they start to do these things, they burn out quickly. I have experience managing Facebook for parents, and I can say it because I saw it. When you had to fight something which is like life and death scenario, like mandates, So if you have a community consisting of like thousands of people, you can expect that maybe a couple hundreds will arrive and like make noise, like they show up at the rally and they like start speaking to the board member. But if some topic is not like not so important, then usually I'll say maybe 10 or 5 people will show up, and there is not much. So the way I see it, how we can make it possible is we have to build an online community, and we have to use financial incentive. So it's gonna work as it could work as a crowdfunding. Imagine websites like GoFundMe, but let's say a GoFundMe page may have extended functionality for community organizer. For example, community organizer may collect money and process bulk payment to multiple addresses, and he could give tips to all people who actually showed up on a rally or spoke in front of the I forgot what is the board of supervisors, Orange County Board of Supervisors, yeah, or city council meetings. So this activity could be incentivized. And imagine, so if you have community, online community of 1,000 people, most of them, they are like passive, they just comment, they do not do anything, they don't show up. The way to engage them is send SMS messages and email messages telling them, okay, hey, I know that not everyone can show up, but here are 2 options. So the first option, you show up, and then there is a chance that somebody will pay you for lunch or something. So let's say $20 or $50. Or if you cannot make it, just why don't you like make a small donation so you'll buy lunch to people who actually shows up. Well, in a parallel with this, online community has to invest in growing. And growing should be done online, because if you do it online, you have access to thousands of people. Not everyone will sign up, but it is way better than doing recruitment in the real world. Like if you go to a rally, there is no chance that you're gonna be speaking to the same amount of people as online. The typical scenario is like you invite somebody using online advertisement on social media, and you can run campaigns targeting local geography. You invite people to sign up, and you start sending them a message saying that, okay, this community is different in terms that we try to encourage involvement rather than just talk about and complain about things. And existing base would receive messages periodically asking them to donate for certain actions like rallies or like banner jobs, whatever. And at the same time, members will be asked to donate for growth. Money collected for growth will be spent to align advertisement. To get a scenario, like if I show up at a rally, there could be a chance that 4 other people will send me $5. So this is for the start. $5 is a small amount of money, but so if you do advertisement right, I think this is achievable. And even if you start with a target of motivating 5 or 10 people showing up at rallies, and they will see that it's not going to be for nothing. At least they get something in return. So it's going to be motivational factor, and it creates motivation for other people to show up as well. And this may create a rotation, and it will prevent people from burning out. The role of crypto here is if you do it through, let's say, PayPal, then community organizer may end up in a situation when he collects some money, even if he sends it out and he's not going to be spent on himself, he'll be facing a tax liability, because it could be $1,000, which is not right. Crypto may act as an escrow account. If you write a smart contract, it's not going to be owned by anyone, and it's going to be difficult for IRS to say, "Oh, you collected it for yourself," because you can prove that you're not controlling it, but it acts as an escrow account. There is a way for each smart contract to publish source code, and using Block Explorer, you can validate that this is code is exactly which is deployed. I believe that if this type of community is launched, then it can become influential, and it's going to have enough influence to vote in politicians who were part of this community, who were active participants. Because what's important for this community is to publish activities systematically. So let's say you launch a crowdfunding campaign for some event, and after the event is done, you publish this on YouTube. So what you done, any, I would say, if people spoke in the front of some board or city council meeting or videos from the rally, I think it would be a good selling point. And also selling point would be to see scared faces of politicians like Nikki Haley.
Nikki Haley?
Yeah. And since not everyone could show up on these meetings, I guess people would be willing to donate small amount of money, like $5. So we have a proof that people willing to donate to pay for this room, because I think this is what we like to hear versus to what comes as propaganda. Because when you pay for something, there's a chance that you get some real information. But propaganda you will always get for free. Okay, and I think that was it. And The final thing, I'd like to run a workshop. Nick, may I use your help?
Yeah, of course.
So I'm going to demonstrate how wallet software works on the Ethereum network.
Okay.
So I want to send some coins from one phone from one phone to another one.
Okay. Just send my number.
Okay, you hold this phone. My phone.
You hold your phone, okay?
Yeah. Show it to everyone. Yeah, it's a Ethereum wallet. It's called Trust. So if you go to the Play Store or iOS, so you can find Trust. This software is called Trust Wallet. So you can see this balance in US dollars. So I have different cryptos here. Ethereum. This is Donald Trump stablecoin.
Nice.
And I'm gonna open the same wallet, the same wallet software on my phone,
Okay.
but I have another account here, so I'm gonna be sending the money. Okay, this is my wallet. So what you need to do is here, so you have a Ethereum.
Okay.
You click on the coin that you want to receive,
Okay.
and there is a button that says receive.
Okay. That, okay.
Yeah, then it shows a QR code of the wallet,
Okay.
and I need to click on the Ethereum and send.
All right. So,
This is a QR code reader.
okay. Wait, closer.
Okay, now I have this address. So I'm gonna be sending about $15 worth of Ethereum. So this is a confirmation page. So network fee is this wallet software suggests to use 6 cents
Okay.
as a network fee. Click confirm, and the transaction went. So I can browse transaction details. Now it shows pending.
Now, do I need to go over here? All right. Oh, it's done there, yeah?
Still pending. Yeah, completed.
Was that 255, I think, before, right?
Yeah.
So was that 255.60 or something? Now it's at 269.95. So the transaction went through.
Yeah, so it's pretty fast. So this is, I demonstrated the Ethereum network. So now, next exercise is I'm going to send Trump coin.
Okay.
Trump coin is a secondary coin on the Ethereum network. So there is the trick. So when you send to different networks, they may use different wallet addresses. So you have to pay attention. So first you select network, then you select coin. But on the Ethereum network, so if you use a secondary coin, it uses the same Ethereum wallet address.
You're just sending a dollar amount of that coin, not an actual one coin.
A percentage of the coin.
Yeah.
A percent of the coin, okay. Is the Trump coin trading at a certain value right now?
It's a stable coin, it's just $1.
Okay.
Actually, he issued a couple coins. He had an ICO, initial coin offering with one coin, but that coin is used as a voting right. So it may have, it probably has some monetary value, but initially it was offered as like a voting right. So if you go to the website, Liberty Financial, what they're supposed to do is when they have a decision pending where this project should go, so they launch a voting. And if you have enough coins, that coin buys you a voting right. But stablecoin is different. And what I heard that the stablecoin is pegged not to US dollar, but pegged to US treasuries. So if you buy a coin, you own that. Receive, then receive the same QR code. And I'm gonna activate QR code reader again.
Oh, sorry, Andrei.
Okay. We got the address.
All right. Go
So-
back. You want to go back?
Yeah, go back.
Okay.
Back one more time. So you have how many? Three.
Trump, that's one, yeah, right?
Yeah, USD one.
USD?
Oh, no, that's different.
Okay.
33. Okay, I'm gonna send 5 Trump coins.
Okay. To the Ethereum, right here? That one, 33.7?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I think Bitcoin's worth like $2 trillion now, cumulatively.
The overall coins,
Yeah.
20 million coins.
But they only exist in the internet. It's like nothing.
Okay, transaction fee for secondary coin is 23 cents.
Okay.
Because it's a smart contract, it's more expensive.
Okay.
Yeah, processing.
RWA, real world assets behind crypto. As in on the real world
Show me
assets
when you're
behind
ready.
it, it's like, it's value.
Oh, still pending.
Okay.
Companies that have.
Completed.
Okay.
Instead of doing
Refresh.
public offerings, they're putting.
Yeah, you can swipe it like this.
Oh, there it
Real world
goes.
assets behind the crypto, not like Bitcoin. There's nothing
Okay,
behind
now
it.
it's 38.
Now it's 38. So was that $33, $11.71? Now it's at $38.11.71. So you just sent the 5 Trump coins via that way.
You do that another million times and you're a millionaire.
Yeah, so what we demonstrated, sending coins on the Ethereum network, it settles within a minute, it's pretty fast.
All you need is a
Yes.
QR code.
Yeah, and what we learned when Nick was running, he's still running for office. So if you're running for office in California, you cannot just put a QR code on your website, but you have to use exchange, which is US based. And you can, once you open an account, you have to do the same thing that all merchants do. They give you, exchange will give you a landing page for processing crypto, and crypto will be converted right away when somebody donates you in crypto, which is not efficient.
So they track it, they can track the.
Yeah, if
Through the
you,
exchange though, right?
if you,
Like if you and I do a transaction, they can't track that.
no. Although blockchains are pseudo-anonymous. When you open a wallet, it's not going to collect your SSN or name. But all public blockchains like Ethereum and Bitcoin, they have so-called block explorers. You can trace all the transactions. But all you see is just wallet addresses. So governments may still track you if you go to exchange, but there are privacy-based coins such as Monero and Zcash, and they are much difficult to trace for the government. Yeah. So you saw that transaction, peer-to-peer transaction is fast and easy, and there is a convenient software exists for mobile platform. Opening an account is as easy. You just download software and you create a wallet. It's gonna take a couple minutes, and nobody gonna ask you like what's your social security number. Nobody gonna do a credit report or
No banks, no banks.
yeah.
All right, so is that it on our Q&A?
Yeah.
All right, guys, round of applause. So, real quick, guys, it's not easy talking about all these complicated topics, you know, and Andrei does so pretty seamlessly. So now we're going to open up for question and answers. This is what we kind of do at our club. We always give it open to question and answers for people from the audience. If there's something you'd like Andrei to maybe clarify, to discuss again, the rest of the time is now for you to ask him. Okay, so do we have any questions? Nadeem first. Okay, first Nadeem, then Marquet, then Joe. Okay, so Nadeem, you have a question?
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, so Andrei, my question is, so you have the current fiat system, which is the cash system, and it has its own network, and it's centralized in a way that it's controlled by the government, by the Fed, and they kind of make decisions about our monetary system. They make decisions about our economy and also the world economy. Now, that's the centralization aspect of it. It's not really free. There's like people making decisions behind it. Now, for decentralized, which is basically nobody controls it, there's nobody making decisions, there's nobody making plans. How is that a better network than what we've already had for the past 250 years? How is decentralized? Is it better, or is it, what do you think?
Okay, this may not be 100% accurate in terms of making decisions. You have to understand how this networks get developed. They are developed by loosely coupled community of developers and visionaries, and they make decisions. They decide the algorithm how new token will be minted. So, for example, Bitcoin has a hard cap, like 20 billions, and that's it. Ethereum does not have any limit. It just keeps minting and minting endlessly. Decentralized systems are better in the way that it is open source software, and there are a lot of eyes watching at these algorithms. And so, for example, decisions of a Fed, I cannot affect. So I cannot influence. We the people cannot influence. Even Donald Trump cannot influence, because the Fed is like a private banking cartel, and there is a legislation that says that they have to be independent from the government, and the same thing happens in every country. Only two countries they are not in the system. These are Iran and North Korea.
Is Russia? Russia was kicked out of SWIFT.
Russia has also a central bank which is independent of the government, and there are issues with issuing credit to businesses, and Russian central banks, they take orders from International Monetary Fund.
Oh, okay, all right. Thank you.
So it's also not 100% independent.
No worries. Is that your question?
Is that it?
If I were to finalize it, what would you prefer? Would you prefer the current centralization, or would you prefer the decentralization? What do you think is superior?
For me, decentralization is better because you can, in public blockchains, you can look for yourself how algorithm works and decide for yourself, do you like Bitcoin or Ethereum? But we need to have freedom of choice. And right now, you could hear on the World Economic Forum, somebody said, oh, let's do one single blockchain and put everything on it. Oh, no, that's going to be a system of the beast. And if you add like this central identity service on top of it, it's going to be another prison.
Defeats the purpose, right?
Yeah.
exactly.
So,
Thank you, Andre.
all right, Marquez, do you have a question or?
Yeah, more on the wallet information.
All right, you want to use the mic or?
No, I was
Okay,
just
all
gonna
right.
ask, what do you have to do, like, if you wanted to start your own, whatever, I don't know, get your own crypto coin, do you have to open your own wallet? Is that what you're saying?
If you want to launch, again, there are two options. The cheap option is like launch a secondary coin, like Trump stable coin. It's easy. I did it myself, but the worst, the hardest part is make it valuable.
But what's the point of doing that for a person? I mean, why would they wanna do that? So other people would
Okay.
invest in it?
Let's say you have a village and you have farmers. They can issue their own coin and do barter. And when they do barter, they can escape taxation. Same applies for crowdfunding political activism. You can avoid taxation with crypto.
Okay.
Because you can show that on the block explorer, you can see that transaction they just passed through. You are not converting it into US dollars. If you do not gain in US dollars, so let's say Nick collects like $10,000 with crowdfunding, and if he does pass through, if he's not gonna go to exchange, if he's not gonna get hit with 1099 for $10,000. It's just gonna be all passed through.
Okay.
So that's the benefit of this Bitcoin,
Yeah.
the exclusive.
Because as soon as you touch centralized system, they're gonna hit you with 1099 for crowdfunding.
Right.
Joe, can Kelly real quick and then go to you? All right, sorry.
I heard that they were trying to tax an increase in value of Bitcoin or something like that.
This is what they're going to cancel. Some countries, they don't have it, but which was going to be happening with the Clarity Act. They're discussing it right now. There are huge pushbacks from the bank lobby. What bank lobby is fighting is there is a functionality in blockchain that if you own some tokens, you may get dividends automatically, and it's gonna make banks obsolete, and they're fighting tooth and nail against it.
Joe?
Yeah, I think I need the mic.
Okay.
And a lot of details, and appreciate all the content, but what's your perspective on a global basis of this is here to stay and it's getting bigger and bigger and it's gonna replace central bank and centralized control, or, and specifically, I heard China's like cornered the market on mining of Bitcoin. They have the most powerful computers and all the new drops are going to China. And then the guy down in El Salvador, I heard that whole country's running on Bitcoin, that they pay employees with Bitcoin, they accept, goods and services on Bitcoin, and he sees that as the future. You think he's ahead of his time and that's gonna proliferate, or this whole thing might fall off the table and go away?
Yeah, it's gonna be here for long. The reason is there are thousands of projects, and if Bitcoin becomes obsolete, gonna be replaced.
With an alternative?
Yeah, alternatives. There are dozens of projects like Ethereum. They are more like advanced. Bitcoin doesn't have smart contracts.
Kelly, you got another one?
Yeah. This is kind of
crypto related. I don't know a lot, but I know a little, and there's a gal I know that knows more. But there's a business that's called Trusted Smart Chain, and their model is real world assets, and their owners are back at the White House. They're meeting with that crypto group that was there recently at the White House, and their deal is real world assets to back up their coin. I have 2 nodes in this company, so it's kicking out coins. It has nodes. It has real world assets behind the nodes, behind the tokens, that type of thing. Whereas Bitcoin, what does it have behind it? Nothing. It's virtual, right?
Yeah.
So this is companies with assets from manufacturing to a variety, real estate holdings and different types of assets behind it. Are you familiar with that? And do you see that as a future of value, this real world assets to have to back up the crypto?
Yes, when they say that coins backed by assets, it's the same principle as a stable coin. So it's centralized, and another trick that if you study the code of these secondary tokens, even Trump coin, they all have functionality to freeze your account. The main difference between native coins such as Bitcoin and Ethereum, nobody can freeze your account, but all stable coins, they have this functionality. So there is a push from bankers. They want control supply, and of course they want to tokenize everything. And there are projects even here in Orange County. They try to use blockchain, but they add a lot of rules. Like even if you have a wallet address, you cannot transact until you do some approval process like in the banks. What was the point? So Bitcoin, when it was invented, it has this ideas of freedom, that nobody controls you, and nobody can prevent you create a wallet, and nobody can take away your coin, nobody can freeze your account. But yeah, it's 2 different worlds.
Any other questions? No? All right, so I guess we will round of applause for Andrei again. Round of applause. Thank you guys. Let me make a couple of final announcements before we get going. Okay, so real quick, I don't want to take away from Andrei's event tonight, but I'm one of the co-presidents of the Speaker's Corner. I am running for state assembly in California's 72nd Assembly District. So next Thursday at Clubhouse 7 in Laguna Woods, Moulton Parkway, 24111 Moulton Parkway, Clubhouse 7. We're going to be having a town hall on the need for federal reconstruction in California. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but our state is totally screwed, for lack of a better word. And I don't know if you've heard recently, but the Trump administration has actually recently signed on to complete the cleanup for the Altadena-Eaton fire and the Pacific Palisades fire. Did you guys hear about that?
Because Karen Bass and Newsom are not.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, that's kind of the point I'm making in the speech, is that the state of California, we can't manage our own finances, we can't prevent or clean up from natural disasters, really do any of the essential functions that is required by government, and the state Republicans aren't really any opposition or providing any path forward. So what I'd like to do, if I was elected as your assembly member, which I hope you guys would give me the honor of doing so, and you can hear more about it, I would basically just like to get elected, and then as soon as elected, I would like to take a plane from Sacramento to DC and just petition the Trump administration to invoke the Insurrection Act and remove the Democrats from office in this state. I think they have liable grounds to do so, considering the fact that we've been a sanctuary state now for going on 8 years. The Democrats in the state also can't seem to ensure the stability, the domestic tranquility, any of these things that we as American citizens are entitled to under the Constitution. So we are asking, or my campaign is asking, that they invoke the Insurrection Act. And at this town hall, we're going to talk about different uses of the Insurrection Act, what it is, and what the path forward is. So that is next Thursday, February 5th, Clubhouse 7, Laguna Woods, 7 to 9 p.m., free food, free drinks, open Q&A. I'm also going to have a bibliography that I'll hand out with other important information. and it should be a good time. The second thing I'd like to mention, I believe it's February 26th, but I'll be sending out a poster here soon. We are having another movie night. We have a lot of talented people like Andrei. And guys, another round of applause for Andrei. I mean, I just want Andrei's brain is operating at like a 250 IQ level. You know what I mean? It's just like, geez, he's going through such complicated stuff. But next month we have another guy. His name is Jeff Tipton. He's a medical doctor, former director at Optum, which is a large medical hospital group. He made this documentary. I've seen it myself. It's about 67 minutes, independently made. But like I said, it's called The Last White Couple. And it's basically all about demographic change throughout the world, throughout the Western world, throughout the United States. This is a big topic, guys. How many of you guys watch Tucker Carlson? Okay, I love Tucker. The last couple monologues, if you guys watch him talking about Minneapolis, it's talking about this issue. I mean, you guys know why there are riots going on in Minneapolis, right?
Hiding the fraud.
Well, that, but there's actually a deeper issue, which is that the illegal aliens committing the fraud don't seem to think that Americans have the right to tell who has the right to live in our country.
Open borders.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly it. So, that's why they're rioting, and this is an issue around the world, that apparently no one seems to talk about. I mean, I have respect and love for all my fellow patriots and all my fellow American citizens, don't get me wrong, but do you guys know that in 1965, the white population of this country was 90%? And do you know what it is today?
30.
It's about like close to 50.
What? Yeah. What? Wow.
I mean, is that a problem or?
That's a huge problem. That's a complete replacement.
So this is what we're gonna talk. This is what the movie's about. I think it's like something like 54 or 56%. And then you also have to included in that is Arabs and other groups of people that are great, but I wouldn't consider them European. Nothing wrong with that. So the point is, if you're interested in demographic change, you want to learn about this topic, we're going to be having a movie night here next month. Please come, please view it, ask questions, and get to meet Jeff. He's a very sharp guy. But thank you guys always for coming to the Speaker's Corner. We'll be meeting next month. I hope you had a good time. And again, round of applause for Andrei. And we'll see you next month. Thank you. Yeah, please, if you guys have envelopes for donations, please put them in the envelope box over there. That my father, hey guys, round of applause for Mark A. Torres too. He made a Speaker's Corner donation box.
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
So yeah, all right, well anyways,
That
guys,
means donate to Nick's game.
thank you. So I hope to see you guys all next week. Thanks again, and thank you for stopping in.
Thank you.
No worries.